Well, thanks everyone for joining us today for our fourth Zoom dialogue. I'm just going to start with our basic housekeeping. So one, everyone is muted. So please send any questions you have in the chat, and our moderator will be sure to share them during the Q&A segment. And we're going to try our best to get to everyone's questions. If we can't, we will make sure we follow up with you afterwards. Also want to take a moment to introduce Remington Tenor. I think all of you know Remington by now. So he's our Chief Operating Officer. He's based in our factory in Cap Haitian, and he oversees all of our operations there. So to kick it off, I would like to just share some general updates with everyone, and then we're going to get into some really more meaty topics. So a few things. One, solar continues to be just an absolute game changer for MFK. We have been able to, I think in 2023, our solar was able to provide around 90% of the power we needed at the factory. So this is a huge impact and has really allowed us to continue to operate even when there's diesel shortages or the prices have skyrocketed. Another really important thing that I want to touch on is just the safety of our team. Thankfully, Cap Haitian remains calm, and our staff are able to get to the factory, and production is able to continue. So we're really fortunate that continues to be the case. Also, I want to let everyone know that in the last couple months, we've had some great opportunities with our relationships in Haiti. So Remington and I were able to meet in June with a World Food Program delegation in Cap Haitian. So this included the World Food Program Haiti country director. This included their regional director and their deputy executive director from Rome. This was a great opportunity for us and really allowed us to have some really focused dialogue on what the challenges are in Haiti and how we can continue to strengthen our partnerships and collaboration to help address those challenges. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in our dialogue today. Another great meeting we were able to have just 2 weeks ago, we had two meetings, one 3 weeks ago, one 2 weeks ago. We had UNICEF Haiti's country director and their senior leadership team visit our facility, as well as representatives from the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operation, which this is for the EU, this is called ECHO. And we like to think of them as almost a European version of the US aid. So similar, we got to have some great conversations about our partnership, the challenges that are being faced on the ground throughout the country, where the needs continue to be, and how we can address those together. And there's some amazing opportunities for partnership that are developing out of that as well that we will talk about. With those general updates covered, I want to really dive into some of, I think there's a few really critical things that we want to share with you all today. The first one is really about the gang activity. As I'm sure everyone is aware, over the last few months, things have continued. The situation specifically in Port-au-Prince has continued to spiral and become more and more desperate. And so what I want to do is, Remington, I would love if you could tell us a little bit about what we've seen since our last Zoom call in February, and what some of the impacts of that have been on Haiti and in Port-au-Prince.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, since our last update, there's been a lot of progress, but I would say unfortunate situation as well. As most of you may recall, end of February, beginning of March, we have had a coalition of all of the gangs in Haiti. They are basically united into one federation, which basically force the prime minister to resign when they attacked the international airport in Port-au-Prince, and also attack the main seaports in Port-au-Prince, where they looted some of the containers that were at that port. Since then, the situation has unfortunately created a lot of constraints on the supply chain in Haiti, where the major global aid agencies basically they have faced a lot of challenges with the essential goods that were stocked at the port, or even hinder their ability basically to import goods through the ports in Port-au-Prince, mostly medicines and medical supplies. What we've seen with those challenges, it put a lot of pressure to shift things to Cap Haitian, where basically things were more stable. And because of that, what we've seen is that a lot of organizations are shifting their supplies or even their goods to either coming to the port of Cap Haitian or the airport of Cap Haitian. Another update basically that probably make things more difficult is because of the gang violence and the increase of violence, where the two of the main prisons in Haiti that we have prison breaks. What we've seen also, there's an increase on the cases of malnutrition. And as you may see during the UNICEF announcement, that the healthcare system basically is facing significant challenges, where almost 40% of the hospital are not functioning. Mainly 40% in Haiti, but I would say mainly in Port-au-Prince, I think about 70% of the hospital, basically they are not working because of gang violence. Because of that, it's creating a lot of pressure. And as an organization, we had basically to step forward to make sure that we can respond to those challenges.
Yeah, thanks for that update, Remington. It the challenges in Port-au-Prince make me think of well, one of the things that comes to mind is right when this was all happening, I guess probably early March, we had an opportunity where some of the big organizations in Port-au-Prince had critical supplies that they needed to get out and ship to the rest of the country. Unfortunately, because of all the gang activity at that time, it was Port-au-Prince was kind of in a lockdown. It was almost impossible to get things in and out. Um, but as we begin to communicate with these agencies, we realized that these supplies would make a significant difference if they could get distributed. So Remington and his team were able to, we have developed some really extensive networks over our 21 years in Haiti. And so we were able to communicate with those transportation networks. We were able to send in multiple trucks into Port-au-Prince to these warehouse locations, load them up with the essential products, and then get them out of the port or get them out of Port-au-Prince. And it was, I remember it was a Friday afternoon and I was talking to Remington, and it was a little, at the time, we were kind of all on the edge of our seat because we were doing almost an hour by hour play by play. And our drivers would be ready to kind of move forward, and we would call the next community that was, 30 minutes up the road, and they would let Remington's team know, hey, do not come right now. The gangs are in the street, and you will lose your shipment. And so we stayed where we were. We waited. Maybe an hour or 2 or 3 hours later, we would get a phone call and they would say, hey, the streets are open. Send your trucks now. And so it took Remington and his team almost 2 days. I think it was approximately about a day and a half, but they were able to get all of those trucks safely out of Port-au-Prince and distributed this essential product all throughout Haiti. So this was a huge success, and something I want to share just to kind of brag on Remington and his team, because to me, it drives home one of our core principles at MFK, is that the most effective and efficient way to solve problems is locally, right? When you have the right local team, they are able to better assess the situation and come up with the creative solutions to navigate really difficult problems that a lot of agencies that are much bigger than MFK were not able to navigate at that time. And really, this creates a win-win, right? We through those partnerships with other agencies, the supplies are available through our partnership on the ground. We're able to make sure they get to where they need to go and can be distributed. So this is just something I wanted to share because it was a huge success for us, and has actually opened up uh, some really great opportunities that we're walking through right now. We'll share about more about those in just a minute as well. Um, and so maybe Remington, what you can do is tell us a little bit more on the heels of all those challenges in Port-au-Prince and what MFK has continued to be able to do, whether it be produce RUTF treatments and get them distributed, whether it be partnering with other agencies to help get other products. This has really started to give us some unique opportunities for collaboration and to assist other organizations. Could you share with us a little bit about that and how MFK is becoming more of a vital and strategic partner um, in to help in the bigger picture?
Yeah, definitely, Chris. When I talked earlier about the challenges, and thank you for bringing the aspect of us facilitating the distribution of the plum peanut to those who are in need. And as I mentioned about opportunities, what we've seen is that because we are based in Cap Haitian and because we have been on the ground for over 20 years, and the experience that we've had basically facilitating the distribution to some of the critical areas, what we've seen is UNICEF mainly, they approach us wanting to have basically more collaboration in terms of distribution and warehousing. And during that period, needless to say that some of those agencies basically they have a lot of medical supplies, medicine that was stored basically that could not get to Haiti. And some of those supplies that basically were leaving Europe, coming to Port-au-Prince, they were rerouted to Panama. And then from Panama, basically they had to reroute those supplies to Cap Haitian. And MFK becomes like a hub for the UN, basically for UNICEF, where they have three shipments, three planes basically leaving Panama, and we're able to assist them in making sure that we provide warehousing for them. So we currently working on that partnership, basically where we will be securing, not only doing warehousing for UNICEF in terms of IUTF, but also we will be doing warehousing and distribution for what they call the non-food items, where they have medical supplies, medicine, and other items that are crucial for the treatment of malnutrition, but also as part of the WASH program. And this, again, it thanks to the fact that we've been on the ground for a very long time, that we're able to assist and help them, and they want to have more collaboration. We're currently basically working with UNICEF to make sure that we don't only do distribution on to the MSPP depot, but see how we can also facilitate the distribution of plum peanut or even medical supplies to the last mile, meaning that the consumers or the end users basically at the very last mile of the distribution, basically they are able to receive goods or materials. And UNICEF is asking us to do this is because that we've proven over and over that we're able to do this. And of course, not MFK itself, it is through partnership that we develop with a lot of truckers that allow us to do this. And we are looking forward to continue on that process. Another thing that we are doing basically is making sure that as part of our partnership that we can also facilitate uh, warehousing or even support for other UN partners. We're talking about UNICEF, but we have all other UN partners that are also reaching out to ask us if we could do the same thing, because things are very difficult in Port-au-Prince, and even that we have a new government, but it will take a while before things can get back to normal. And what they realize is that it's easier to have everything shipped directly to Cap Haitian. In that case, they don't need to have everything shipped to Port-au-Prince and then ship them to Cap Haitian or to the rest of the country. So we look into this partnership where MFA basically will be a very crucial and vital hub for the UN, where we can actually facilitate distribution and warehousing, at least for the northern part of Haiti, where we have at least 4 to 6 departments basically that are part of this region.
Yeah, and if I Remington, my understanding is too is that what this will allow prior to this, one of the big challenges that we've seen in Haiti is that, and it's been really unfortunate, there's been lots of treatments available, and there's been the willpower, whether it be from the broader Haitian government or UNICEF, other agencies in MFK, to make sure these treatments are distributed. But one of the the challenge of how to get these treatments to where they need to be on a consistent basis has been a huge, I think it's fair to say it's been a really huge problem and a bottleneck that has really impacted everybody's work. So I think one of the really cool things for MFK, and I would say for maybe even more importantly for the children of Haiti, is that as we're engaging with our partners and coming up with these creative solutions and figuring out how to do product distribution to the last mile, it really means that more children are going to be treated, more lives are going to be saved. And now on top of it, through with partnership to these other agencies, it means other really critical items. So it's, whether it be prenatal vitamins for expecting mothers, which we all know, I mean, that has a significant impact on how that child develops, right? In the mother's health, whether it be other medical supplies and critical medicine, like all of these things now are going to be able to flow more consistently and more freely, which means we're going to see an across the board impact, not just in treating severe acute malnutrition, but actually in the general health of children and mothers and probably many other people throughout Haiti. So we're really I'm really excited about this opportunity that we have to continue our collaboration and partnership. And just really thankful, Remington, for all the work that you and the team are doing to kind of help make it possible and to navigate the choppy waters right now.
Yeah,
So thanks for that.
absolutely. And I think this is one of the point when we met with the UNICEF country director. That's one of the aspects that he wanted to make sure that we cover, is the fact that we have been doing a great job in facilitating the distribution of our UTF or Plum Peanut or Medica Mamba to some of those locations, but they would want us to do the same thing, because it's not only providing Plum Peanut, there's other essential supplies that basically kids are in need. And again, I think this will again allow us to move further into the process of treating malnutrition and doing the prevention in terms of avoiding to have the worst, because as you know, things are really difficult right now, and a lot of other organizations, they are not able to make it. And if we can do it, so we will basically work with those partners to make sure that we can do those distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think part of that as well is right now we're in the process of looking with some other partners of ours about how we can expand the storage at MFK, to really make sure that as more product is being distributed, that we have all of the internal capacities and space available to do that as efficiently and effectively as possible. So I know we're looking at expanding warehouse space. We're looking at how we can continue to just strengthen I would say, our facilities and the kind of security around that facility. Um, and it's exciting. It's daunting and exciting how great the need is right now, but also the opportunities we have to really make a difference in the middle of it. So um, maybe what you can do, Remington, if you could share with us a little bit, we'll move forward. But just what's the current status of Port-au-Prince? I know that the port was closed for a long period of time. The airport was closed. Anything you can share on what things are looking like there right now?
Yes. You know, I think late May and beginning of June, what we've seen that the major airlines, commercial airlines, basically they're resuming their flights out of Port-au-Prince. But prior to that, we've seen a lot of movement from the US, basically with equipment coming down to Haiti, basically to facilitate the building of temporary you know, housing for the force that will come, the Kenyan force that will come. And we are basically seeing that there are some ports, the two ports, we have the port of Port-au-Prince, CPS, as well as Lafito. They are working on reduced working hours, but they are actually resuming, operation. It is
Mm,
still very difficult
mm,
because some of those areas they are controlled by gangs. So we are hoping that with the new government, that things will get back to normal, that we can have the multinational force coming in, and then the newly established government basically could work with all of the partners, basically not only to bring peace, but also to organize election as soon as possible so we can renew all of the um, public institutions. But it's still remain a challenge for, to commute from Port-au-Prince to the south. We do have
mm,
a lot of other organizations that are working to create those humanitarian canals to make sure that we can do distribution to some of the most vulnerable areas. But I would say from late May to beginning of June, we are seeing there are movements, but there's still a lot to be done on that aspect, basically to make sure that people can have free movement in Port-au-Prince and outside of Port-au-Prince.
mm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I guess with that, I know for that period of time where the ports were closed, and like you said, even now it's inconsistent as far as the hours of operation and when they are open and when they are closed. Um, I think this is really what we've seen is a lot of the container traffic being sent towards Cap Haitian. Cap has now developed the reputation of being the only kind of stable place, large stable city within Haiti. It has the only seaport that is consistently open and consistently operating. Um, I know that's producing some challenges. Can you share with us a little bit about what some of those challenges might be?
Yeah, I think one of the first challenge is basically the congestion that we see at the port in Cap Haitian, because that's the only functioning port, basically that with no risk. I think the port of Saint Mark is still open, but as you know, the national roads they are closed. It's very difficult for people to make it to the port. So Cap
Okay.
Haitian becomes the number one port and the go-to port. And that basically, you see a lot of traffic. There's more containers coming to the port. And of course, since it's the only functioning port, so they have the pressure basically to generate more revenue, basically that would cover the loss that the other ports basically are custom they are losing in the other
Mm,
ports. So I
mm,
think that probably it's gonna be continue to be a challenge until we can see things, going back to normal.
mm,
But in our case, and again, there's always challenge on our side. What we're doing is basically while we working to, creating more storage space, like building warehouse, but also we are working basically to have more bigger contract with suppliers and build stock so we don't have
mm,
any stock outs in terms of raw materials that we can continue our production to make sure that we can meet the demand for the local needs. But it will remain a challenge until we can see the other ports will open because it's the only functioning port, but it's a very small port basically.
mm. And I know you and your team, we have been working very closely on how MFK can respond to some of these challenges and really make sure that we are as new problems arise that we're quickly identifying them and coming up with creative solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the maybe some of those solutions or some of the things that you and your team have been working on over the last few months to help manage these challenges?
Yeah. So one of the things is that as you know, we're able to find people who believe in our mission and who understand what we are doing, and which is great. We recently hired a new supply chain manager, basically with a lot of experience working with the, the customs in Haiti, also in the Dominican Republic, but also have very strong relationship with a lot of, workers or, custom employees that he's been able to come in and help us to basically find effective and efficient ways that we can actually work towards, reducing some of the time that we usually have in terms of custom clearance. So I think this is very fortunate for us because as you know, the country is losing a lot of talent and that we're able to find someone with such, strong background in logistics, supply chain and procurement that is able to join the team. And we continue, working with local partners, whether it's the port employees, the workers that are based in Cap Haitian, and also workers that are based in Port-au-Prince, that
Mm,
allow us basically to continue, the process in terms of, uh, working and networking, basically to make sure that we understand the process
mm.
so we can buy ourselves, time and making sure that.
We may have lost Remington. Well, I will continue on then, and hopefully he can reestablish his connection. So I think, yeah, as Remington was saying, there's the relationships we've been able to build in Port-au-Prince and in Cap Haitian are making a huge difference. And we've added several other key members to our team, which are also making a huge difference. We, as he said, in the midst of when so much talent is leaving Haiti because of the situation, MFK has really been able to bring on some of the best talent that's still in the country. And really, we've had a couple of people that were weighing out whether or not to move to the U.S. or work for MFK, and they have chosen to work with MFK, which to me is a huge testament to just the mission, our mission, what we're accomplishing, the culture that we have really built within our team. And so just really, it's been a really incredible journey. Um, the one other question I was going to ask Remington and really is about agriculture. So MFK, as you know, we really try to take a holistic approach when we look at some of the challenges. And so that's of course distributing product that is treatment, but it's also looking at where can we strengthen, um, where can we build resiliency, right? Where can we enter into the realm of prevention? What steps can we begin to take to make sure that some of these problems don't continue to increase in the future, but we can move towards a healthier state. And so one of those things that we're doing is partnering with the World Food Program. They have become just an amazing partner on the ground. We've had a lot of opportunity, like we talked about earlier, to meet with senior staff and really do some deep dives into what can be done and what initiatives they're looking at. And so one of the ways that we're partnering with them is through a agriculture program for all of this year with a goal of training 600 additional farmers in the North on best practices, making sure they have the resources to kind of uh, better produce higher yields and have better post-harvest production, make sure there's higher quality peanuts making it to the marketplace. Oh, Remington, you're back.
Yes, I am. I
Okay.
apologize for that. So
No, no problem. I was just sharing with everyone really quick about our WFP project, and what it's doing. Maybe you probably caught part of what I'm saying. Maybe you can finish out how that project is going and then also talk a little bit about our K-State project.
you know, I think in that case, I would like to brag a little bit about this. I think the fact that we've been on the ground for a very long time, I think our experience basically and our results basically speaks for us. And we enter into this agreement, especially the one with the World Food Program, basically after several conversation and meetings that we have with them. And they look into what we're doing as part of the farmers training, and they wanted basically to see if we could expand that to more communities. And as you mentioned, so right now we that agreement basically will allow us to provide training for about 600 farmers. And as part of that training, basically, we will not only teach them best practices in terms of soil preparation, harvest, and storage of peanut, but also one of the very important aspects that we are adding into that training basically is making sure that the farmers they are able also to do testing on the field for aflatoxin, because that were one of the challenge that we faced in the past when we do training, and when it's time for us to go and buy the peanut, we have to send our staff to several communities basically to go and do those tests. And
Mhm.
with that training, our aim basically is to make sure that we can actually do the training, provide the tools and equipment that the farmers will need for them to do the test by themselves. And then, of course, we will, as part of our quality assurance, we will make sure that we can also do testing when we're buying from them. But the opportunity there is not only they know about best practices, they can do the testing, but also they can actually become entrepreneurs where they can actually not only sell the peanut to MFK, but if they were to sell that to people, they know exactly the quality of the peanut that they are selling on the market. Or if they want to transform that into peanut butter paste, that they actually have the knowledge to do that. So we've started that training back in March. So the first course of 300 basically is for 6 months. And then we are basically working really hard to make sure that we can continue with those training. It's a very good partnership. We have the World Food Program, basically their focal point for agriculture, basically that spent 3 days last week on the field with our guys, basically to see the training that we're doing and also challenge the farmers and question them to see actually if they are learning. And
Mm,
also we had a discussion with the representative of the World Food Program. Basically, we're looking for ways that we can even go beyond those trainings, see if we could also incorporate quality assurance, food safety as part of those training, and maybe later on see if we can also have transformation like small plants where they could also make peanut butter. That's something that is on on that we are discussing with them. But I would say that this is part of the goal of the World Food Program. Basically, by 2028, all of the product used for the school feeding program, basically in Haiti, they should be sourced in Haiti. So I am very happy with that partnership. And I think they're probably gonna come to us and ask us to put more training. Right now, it's focused on peanut, but it could also go beyond peanut, like to do training for the crops, because we also do experimentation on site where we grow vegetables. We I anticipate that they would want us to also do the same thing, like on the ground. With KSU, we have this partnership with two universities in the north. We have the State University, the Public University of Limonade, as well as the Christian University in the north, where basically we work with their students basically on their final status. They will write down their memoirs, and then we provide the facility for them to come and do internship where they do experimentation, like field experimentation, try different varieties of peanut at MFK, participate on those farmers training as well, and also use our labs basically if they need to do further research in terms of their research program. So the first two interns basically they are on their last month because it's every 6 months. We're gonna have two interns from one from each university. So the two first interns that we've had basically they at the end of this month they will leave, and then we're gonna have two more that will come. But again, this is a great partnership because when we had the visit from the UNICEF and with their media, like the journalists that came in, the two interns were the one that they interviewed, basically, they will showcase them on their platform at the supply division, basically to showcase the work that we are doing in Haiti.
That's great. Yeah, that's really great. I appreciate you sharing that, Rivenson. Um, I think we're going to stop now. We've covered a lot of really good ground. We're going to stop now and see if there's anything in the Q&A.
Have a few questions that have come in. Earlier, it was asked, well, first of all, we received a well done from our partner at Alliance to End Hunger for our partnership that's growing with UNICEF. It says a lot when UNICEF is seeking help and guidance and further collaboration. So thank you for that. So the additional question there is, so why are materials flowing a little more consistently now? Is it less gang violence and control of areas, or is there another reason that materials or other resources are kind of moving a little more regularly?
Yeah, I think part of that, and Riminson, feel free to jump in here, but I think really this has been about what we are realizing is a lot of it is supply chain and logistics, which in one sense we're kind of all like, well, of course, go figure. With the roads being held hostage by the gangs and Port-au-Prince bottlenecking the South, it's no big surprise, but that's really what we're seeing. And so what has taken some time is, as you can imagine, for many organizations, there is a lot in place to make sure their programs are executed the way they're supposed to. And typically that works really well, but there are also instances where then when you need to make some big changes or pivots, it takes a while to get everybody on the same page and line up what those solutions are. And so I think that's what we're seeing now as many of these organizations are coming together, is we are all discussing and realizing what each of us can bring to the table and how we can work better together to create solutions. We're seeing those logistic bottlenecks clear up and product being able to flow more freely to where it needs to be. So we really believe that we're just at the beginning of this. We just had a call with UNICEF on Friday where they let us know about additional program rollouts that are happening that they believe are going to really increase the supply even further in the coming months. So we're really I can say we're really optimistic that if we can overcome some of these supply chain challenges, that we're going to see more and more treatments continue to be delivered and more lives being saved.
The other thing I wanted to add into this, Chris, I think the attack on the international airport in Port-au-Prince and even the seaports in Port-au-Prince, I think it made everybody realize that there was a need for decentralization, that they actually could find other means or other ways basically to facilitate the distribution. Before everything would go to Port-au-Prince, and as you know, most of the roads basically they are cut off. So imagine if you ship everything to Port-au-Prince and then you need to truck this to the south or to the north. It's very difficult because
Yeah.
it's now that we have those planes basically leaving Panama coming directly to Cap Haitian, make things easier. And I think, as you mentioned, the other partners like UNICEF, the World Food Program, and all of the UN organizations, they come together, and with the cluster logistic also, they create this means the way that they could also facilitate some of the distributions to some of the locations. So they have the helicopter and the barge available that they can actually do distribution in some of the difficult places. But it still remains a challenge because, it's a lot of communications and checking to see if there's risk of, hijack and looted, because that's a big risk. And unfortunately, you cannot negotiate with those gangs because once they want to do something, basically they will do it. But I would say that's probably where an opportunity that everybody took advantage of it, and it facilitated the distribution to some locations.
One other question that's kind of related to distribution and supply chain is, have we ever had to, pay bribes or anything like that to gangs to get what is needed, or, however you might be able to summarize that? Or have there been any cost inflation of materials to get out of ports, things like that?
I would say costs have significantly gone up. So one of the things we've seen is for a lot of the transportation companies, like Remington said, I mean, there's a lot of fear around if you run into gangs, what may happen. And so transportation companies are really they're being very, very particular about when they send trucks, where they send trucks, making sure that their staff is safe. And of course, with that, we've seen the costs go up considerably, and they do fluctuate. So if there's a period where things are a little calmer, or we're sending product to a place that is not as hot as we would say in Haiti, then it's not as bad. But if we're sending trucks to Port-au-Prince, for example, the cost has gone up astronomically. But thankfully, what we've also seen is with that, there haven't been, no one has been hurt. Shipments have been able to get to where they need to go. And so it's we talk about internally, it's kind of the cost of doing business, is just realizing that with the right partnerships, they know how to navigate those roads. They know how to stay away from the danger points and avoid getting stuck by gangs, and we haven't had to pay any bribes, which has been a godsend. And
Yeah.
similar, well, go ahead, Remington.
No, I was going to mention that the advantage is the fact that we basically work with truckers, and they also have a lot of experience working on the ground, basically knowing when it's safe, when it's not safe to take the road. But in some cases, they basically have to make sure that they can have ways of protecting their staff. So sometimes, yes, they will increase the price of transportation. And what we do is really we work with I'd say small customers that we make sure that we reduce the trips that we have to Port-au-Prince, for instance. And right now, because of violence, I think since um, probably February, our main depot in Port-au-Prince, we had to basically close the depot, but we continue distribution. And the way that we do distribution, basically, it's almost like door to door, but we basically work with um, another organization. It's like a bus station where basically we facilitate those small customers, they go to pick up the product. So we would have only one trip for the month. They go, they pick up the product right away, and then they leave. That allow us basically not to pay a lot of money, but also not to be able to pay bright, because we don't have the fleet basically to do it. But we do feel sometimes that our truckers would ask for more money. And it also depends on where they are doing the distribution as well, because some locations are more difficult. And that's why with UNICEF, we work basically close with them to make sure that even with the distribution plan, that they communicate that ahead of time. So we have enough time basically to meet those demands, to do the distribution when things are calmer, because we understand that could be a very critical point. Now, when it comes to getting raw materials through the port, I think we talked about this before. I think the port of Cap Haitian, basically, they have a lot of pressure, basically, especially custom, to cover the losses for all of the other custom offices. So yes, we do see that sometimes that costs could vary from time to time, but really that's what I can say about this.
Right. Thank you both. That's a lot of really great insight. Another question is, can you please explain, share more about how many people work for MFK, what they do, what their roles are, and who all is in Haiti specifically?
That's a great question. So we have approximately 88 staff in Haiti, and then we have about 6 support staff in the U.S. So the majority of our team is located at the factory there, and that's a combination of course, everyone who operates the factory, which you see in the background of both Maya and Reminiscence's screen, as well as our agriculture workers, people working in the clinics. So everyone that kind of encompasses our activities on the ground there. So in total, I think we're about 94. And that number fluctuates a little bit because some of those people are temporary or seasonal. You know, if things spike, it can go up a little bit. If things drop, it can go down. But about 94 is where we set on most days.
Another question that we have kind of about the Haiti landscape is, a new prime minister has just been appointed. What does that mean for MFK?
Remington, I think that's you.
Well, let me start by saying that the current prime minister is a former prime minister of Haiti, but most recently he is the regional director of UNICEF. I think, for starters, I think this should be good news, because he's part of he works for the UN organization. He understands what we are doing. We remain very hopeful that the new government will come in, and of course, the first thing that we need is stability. We want peace. We need to be able to continue our operation, and that we can actually go to the last mile to distribute product to people who are in need. I think our main expectation would be that we hope that we can have peace, and of course, getting to know the members of the cabinet and continue working, on what we do. So we do have several ministers basically that MFK work with them. We will continue our, work with those ministries just to make sure that we can continue our mission.
Another one is, any updates on the Kenyan security force?
So yes, what we know is that it's been about 8 months now since we've been working on this. So from the last update, we talk about the fact that we saw no movement. And I would say this time, what we see is that the US basically have been able to, work with the Haitian government, and we've seen there's US staff coming to help prepare the field, and they are building temporary housing and an infrastructure for the Kenyan force that will come. And we also see that there are, equipment coming in, basically that will facilitate, that mission. We're hoping that soon that the force will come and they can work with the police, because we really looking forward not only the force to come and do the job of the national police. So we are expecting that they will come and work with the national police, train them, and also help bring reforms to the police so that we can continue, with the peace in Haiti. But that's where we're at right now.
Thank you so much. So it looks like that's the last of our questions that we have come in. Again, if you had any question that, in the future, you're more than welcome to reach out to us at our info email, which I'll put in the chat now. We'll have the right person get back to you about whatever information you may need. Chris and Remington, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you all for joining. We really appreciate just your support, your collaboration, just the continued interest you take in our mission and our work. So thanks for being a part of this call. Thanks for your support of MFK. I mean, it's really what we're seeing is, I think, can be summed up in as resilience, right? Is a commitment to the goal, to commitment to the good that we are doing. It would not be possible without our team in Haiti, who has just been doing heroic work. Really, I don't know any other way of saying it, as far as is continuing to make sure that we're able to help the most vulnerable in these most difficult times. And of course, we couldn't do it without you, without our MFK's just dedicated board, our staff in St. Louis, and all of you who joined this call, who help support what we do and make sure that you're advocating for Haiti and the children of Haiti. So thank you all. We really appreciate it again, and we look forward to talking with you in our next Zoom. So have a wonderful day.